Yo, Cardi B might be pregnant by next year, and the internet is absolutely losing it right now. I'm talking full-blown meltdown mode, because this isn't just about a baby, y'all. This whole situation involves Stefon Diggs, a brewing revenge plot, and Offset allegedly stalling divorce papers because he's furious about how this relationship is being rubbed in his face. And listen, when I say this story has layers, I mean layers. We're talking alleged setups, fears for safety, chart drama with Doja Cat, Nicki Minaj dropping albums out of spite, Kandi Burruss possibly hiding money from Todd, Beyoncé making a major comeback, and GloRilla's career allegedly spiraling. The tea is scalding today, fam. And before we even get started, I need you to buckle up, because what I'm about to break down is going to have you shook. This isn't your regular celebrity gossip. This is a full-blown saga with pregnancy speculation, alleged violence, career collapses, and power moves that could reshape the entire industry. So, if you're ready for the most insane celebrity breakdown you've heard all week, stay locked in. Let's get into it. All right, so here's the thing. Everybody thought they had the Cardi B and Offset divorce situation figured out, right? She filed papers, they're co-parenting, she's moved on with Stefon Diggs, and that's that. Clean break. Everyone goes their separate ways. That's the version of the story most people have been running with for months now. But now, new information is surfacing that's got the whole narrative twisting in ways nobody saw coming. And I'm not talking about small details either. I'm talking about alleged pregnancy timelines, astrology chart readings that fans swear are accurate, and claims that Stefon Diggs was out here bragging about his relationship with Cardi on his birthday. And if that wasn't enough, there's talk that Offset, who some folks online are calling off the cheat now, is allegedly refusing to finalize the divorce because he feels disrespected. Like, reportedly upset to the point where he's stalling legal paperwork just to maintain some kind of control over the situation. But here's where it gets even messier. There are rumors floating around that Offset once tried to set up Cardi and Stefon. And I don't mean set them up like introducing them. I'm talking about something way more sinister. And apparently, Cardi B has expressed legitimate fear for her safety when it comes to Offset. So what we thought was a straightforward celebrity divorce with some petty social media shade, yeah, that narrative is completely out the window now. Because if even half of these allegations hold weight, we're looking at something way darker, way more complicated, and potentially dangerous. And that's just the Cardi B storyline, y'all. Whew, we still gotta talk about Doja Cat's chart struggles, Nicki's questionable album rollout, the Kandi and Todd money war, Beyoncé's Met Gala power move, and why GloRilla's streams are making people question her entire 2025 strategy. Let me break all this down piece by piece, because trust me, you're gonna need the full context to understand how wild this really is. All right, so let's start with the pregnancy speculation, because this is what got everybody talking in the first place. According to fans online, and I mean fans who turned into full-blown astrology detectives, there's an alleged reading of Cardi B's birth chart that suggests she could become pregnant sometime between October 2026 and May 2027. Now, before anybody jumps down my throat, let me be clear, this is speculation. This is fan interpretation based on astrological readings, not confirmed medical information or official announcements. But here's why people are taking it seriously. Astrology communities online have been tracking celebrity charts for years, and some of these predictions, especially around major life events like marriages, breakups, and pregnancies, have been eerily accurate in the past. I'm talking about fans who correctly predicted other celebrity babies, breakups, even career moves based on planetary transits and birth chart alignments. So when multiple astrology accounts started posting about Cardi's chart showing strong indicators of pregnancy in that specific time frame, people started connecting dots. And once you factor in her relationship with Stefon Diggs, the timing starts to make sense to a lot of folks. Now, here's where it gets interesting from a logistics standpoint. Cardi B has a major tour scheduled, right? And fans online are already worried because if she gets pregnant during the tour cycle, there could be cancellations. And apparently, according to fan chatter, the tour isn't selling as well as expected, which means cancellations would be an even bigger financial hit. So fans are basically saying, we want Cardi to have her baby, but please wait until after the tour. Which is wild because they're out here trying to schedule her pregnancy like it's a business meeting. But honestly, from a career perspective, it makes sense. Pregnancy during a major tour can derail momentum, affect ticket sales, and create logistical nightmares for promoters and venues. But here's the part that's really got people talking. If Cardi does end up pregnant in that time frame, it would cement her relationship with Stefon Diggs in a way that goes beyond just dating. We're talking about a child, a whole family situation. And that brings us to the next layer of this drama. Because allegedly, Stefon Diggs has not been quiet about his relationship with Cardi. In fact, according to claims circulating online, he was out here bragging about it. So check this out. There are allegations, and I want to stress this is alleged, that Stefon Diggs was talking big on his birthday about having sexual relations with Cardi B, like not keeping it private, not being discreet, but actively flaunting it in a way that got back to people, got back to social media, and most importantly, got back to Offset. Now, if you're Offset and you're already dealing with the public humiliation of your ex-wife moving on, how do you think you'd feel hearing that her new man is out here bragging about your situation? Rhetorical. That's the type of disrespect that doesn't just sting. That's the type of thing that can turn a relatively calm divorce into an all-out war. And this is where the emotional layer of this whole story starts to build, because we're not just talking about egos anymore. We're talking about a man who allegedly feels like his relationship, his family, and his reputation are being publicly dismantled while everyone watches and laughs. Which brings us to Offset's reaction. And y'all, this is where things get dark. So here's what's allegedly happening behind the scenes with Offset. And I want everyone to really understand the gravity of what's being claimed here, because this isn't just petty celebrity drama anymore. According to reports and speculation online, Offset is allegedly stalling the divorce papers. And the reason? He feels like Cardi B and Stefon Diggs are rubbing their relationship in his face, and this is his way of maintaining some level of control over the situation. Now, from a legal standpoint, stalling divorce proceedings is actually more common than people think. When one party feels hurt, disrespected, or financially threatened, they can drag out the process by contesting terms, requesting additional negotiations, or just flat out refusing to cooperate with the timeline. It's a power move, a way to say, you might be moving on, but I still have a say in how this ends. But in this case, it's allegedly more than just legal strategy. People online are saying Offset's emotional state is playing a huge role in this. And when you factor in the claims about Stefon bragging, the pregnancy speculation, and the very public nature of Cardi's new relationship, you start to see how this could push someone to a breaking point. And that brings me to one of the most serious allegations in this entire situation. There are claims, again, unverified but circulating heavily, that Offset once attempted to set up Cardi B and Stefon Diggs. Now, when I say set up, I'm not talking about arranging a meet and greet. This implies something potentially dangerous, something that could have put both of them in harm's way. And if this allegation has any truth to it, we're not dealing with typical breakup drama. We're dealing with potential threats, retaliation, and a level of conflict that goes way beyond social media shade. And here's the thing that makes this even more concerning. Cardi B has allegedly expressed that she fears for her safety when it comes to Offset. Let that sink in for a second. A woman who shares children with this man, who built a life with him, who once loved him, is reportedly afraid of what he might do. That's not just sad, that's alarming, and it completely reframes how we should be looking at this entire divorce situation. Because now it's not about who moved on first or who's dating who, it's about safety. It's about whether someone feels secure enough to live their life without looking over their shoulder. And if Cardi genuinely feels that level of fear, then every move she makes or doesn't make starts to make a lot more sense. Which is why some people online are saying Cardi is no longer trying to provoke Offset the way she might have earlier in the divorce process. She's not posting as much, she's not engaging with the drama publicly, and according to fan theories, it's because she wants stability with Stefon Diggs and doesn't want to escalate things to a point where her safety or her children's safety could be at risk. Now, there was a rumor a while back that Offset and Stefon Diggs got into a physical fight, but a lot of people, including the narrator in the original source, are calling cap on that. The reasoning? Both of these dudes are celebrities. They were allegedly in Miami. If a fight actually went down, someone would have recorded it. There would be footage, witnesses, TMZ would have been all over it, but nothing surfaced. So most folks are writing that rumor off as internet fiction. But even if the fight didn't happen, the tension is clearly real. Offset is allegedly upset, allegedly stalling legal proceedings, and allegedly feeling disrespected on a level that's affecting his decision-making. Cardi is allegedly scared, allegedly moving forward cautiously, and allegedly trying to build something stable with Stefon while protecting herself and her kids. And in the middle of all this, there's speculation about a future pregnancy, public bragging, and unresolved emotions that could explode at any moment. So yeah, the Cardi B and Offset situation, it's a lot more complicated and potentially dangerous than people realize, and it's still very much unfolding. Alright, so that's the heavy part. Now let's switch gears and talk about what's happening in the music world, because trust me, there's just as much drama on the charts as there is in these relationships. Alright, so while all that relationship chaos is unfolding, let's talk about what's happening with some of the biggest names in music right now, starting with Doja Cat. So, Doja's song Jealous Type officially exited the Hot 100 after debuting at number 28 and lasting 14 weeks on the chart. Now, for context, that's not a terrible run, but it's also not the smash hit momentum that Doja's been known for in the past. And for an artist of her caliber, a song falling off the Hot 100 after just 14 weeks signals a potential shift in her chart dominance. Let's keep it real. Doja Cat has been one of the most consistent hitmakers over the past few years. We're talking about Say So, Kiss Me More, Woman, songs that didn't just chart, they dominated. They had longevity, streaming power, and cultural impact. So when a single like Jealous Type underperforms relative to her usual standards, people start asking questions. And here's where the narrative gets interesting. According to the source material, Doja's team is reportedly banking on upcoming collaborations with Megan Thee Stallion and Doechii to revive momentum and keep her name hot in the industry. Which makes sense, right? Collaborations can bring in new audiences, generate buzz, and give artists a second wind when their solo releases aren't hitting the way they used to. But here's the thing. If you're relying on features to carry your momentum instead of your own solo work, that can be a sign of declining pull. It's like saying, I need other people's fan bases to stay relevant. And for someone like Doja, who's been a powerhouse on her own, that's a concerning shift. Now, let's pivot to Nicki Minaj because, oh boy, this rollout situation has people divided. So, Nicki announced that she's dropping an album in March, right? Big news. Barbs are hyped, the internet is buzzing. But here's the problem. A growing number of fans online are saying they do not believe she's actually going to drop it. And the reason people are skeptical? Allegedly, fans think Nicki announced the album out of anger because Cardi B was getting too much attention. And if you think about it, that narrative actually tracks with how some of Nicki's moves have been perceived in recent years. She's been open about her feelings toward Cardi. The rivalry is well documented. So when Cardi's name starts trending, whether it's because of her relationship, her music, or her personal drama, and then Nicki suddenly announces an album, people are going to connect those dots. But here's the thing. In today's music industry, surprise albums are way harder to pull off than they used to be. And let me explain why. Back in the day, artists like Beyoncé could drop a surprise album and it would still do massive numbers because streaming was the dominant force and physical sales weren't as crucial. But now, labels rely heavily on vinyl pre-orders, physical copies, merchandise bundles, and formal rollout strategies to maximize first-week sales and chart positioning. Republic Records, Nicki's label, is not going to approve a silent drop without a proper rollout. There's too much money on the line. They need pre-order campaigns, playlist placements, marketing pushes, social media coordination, and retail partnerships. All of that takes time and planning. So when Nicki announces an album in March, but there's no rollout, no singles, no real build-up, people start to wonder, is this real, or was this an impulsive announcement made in the heat of the moment? And some fans online are even saying that if the album does drop, it might be rushed, under-promoted, and ultimately underperform because it wasn't given the proper runway to succeed. Which would be a shame, because Nicki is incredibly talented, and her music deserves better than a reactionary rollout driven by competition instead of creative vision. So yeah, the music side of things is messy too. Doja relying on features, Nicki's rollout is questionable, and the whole industry is watching to see who comes out on top. But hold on, because we're not done yet. We still gotta talk about Kandi Burruss and the financial warfare happening in her divorce, Beyoncé's major return to the Met Gala, and why GloRilla's career might be in trouble. Alright, so let's shift gears and talk about Kandi Burruss and Todd Tucker, because this divorce is shaping up to be one of the messiest financial battles we've seen in a minute. So here's the tea. Netflix is reportedly considering acquiring Kandi Coded Nights, which is Kandi's talk show. Now, this is still in the speculation phase, nothing's confirmed, but if it goes through, it would be a major upgrade for Kandi's media presence and her bank account. But here's where things get interesting. Fans online are theorizing that this potential Netflix deal is directly tied to her divorce from Todd. Like, the timing is suspicious, and people think Kandi might be making strategic moves to protect her finances before the divorce is finalized. So the theory goes like this. If Kandi secures a major Netflix deal before the divorce is settled, she could potentially structure her earnings in a way that shields them from being split with Todd. Whether that's through business entities, trusts, or other financial arrangements, the idea is that she's playing chess while Todd's playing checkers. And apparently, there's more drama on Todd's side, because reports are saying that Todd is trying to challenge the prenup they signed back in 2014. And his argument? He claims he was forced to sign it. Now, let me just say, challenging a prenup that was signed over a decade ago by claiming you were forced is a tough legal battle to win. Courts generally uphold prenups unless there's clear evidence of coercion, fraud, or one party not having legal representation, and even then, it's an uphill fight. But if Todd is trying to challenge it, that tells us he's feeling financially threatened. It suggests he thinks he's entitled to more than what the prenup allows, and he's willing to go to war over it. Which makes sense, because Kandi is wealthy. We're talking about a woman with multiple business ventures, real estate investments, music royalties, and now potentially a major streaming deal. And this is where the speculation gets even wilder. Some people online are saying Kandi might be hiding money or dividing assets strategically to minimize what Todd can claim in the divorce. Now, I want to be clear, this is public speculation, not confirmed fact, but it's the kind of theory that makes sense when you look at how high-profile divorces usually play out. Because here's the thing. In a divorce, especially one involving significant wealth, both sides are trying to protect what they believe is rightfully theirs. Kandi built her empire long before Todd came into the picture. She was already a successful artist, businesswoman, and TV personality. So from her perspective, why should she have to split everything 50-50 with someone who came in later? But from Todd's perspective, he might feel like he contributed to her success during their marriage. Maybe he helped manage her businesses, supported her ventures, or played a behind-the-scenes role that doesn't get public credit. So he feels entitled to a larger share. And that's where the financial warfare begins. Both sides lawyering up, both sides making strategic moves, and both sides trying to come out on top. Now, as for the Netflix deal with Candy-Coated Nights, some people, including the narrator from the source material, are skeptical that it's a good fit. The argument is that the show's style might not align with Netflix's content expectations. But honestly, if Netflix thinks it'll bring in subscribers and views, they'll greenlight it. That's how the streaming game works. So yeah, the Kandi and Todd situation is a full-blown financial chess match. Prenup challenges, strategic business deals, alleged money hiding, and a whole lot of legal maneuvering. And just like the Cardi and Offset drama, this one's still unfolding. Alright, so we've covered relationship chaos, chart drama, and financial warfare. Now, let's talk about Beyoncé, because her Met Gala announcement just shifted the entire industry. Okay, so let's talk about the queen herself. Beyoncé has officially been announced as co-chair of the 2026 Met Gala. And let me tell you, the internet is collectively losing its mind. For those who don't know, Beyoncé hasn't attended the Met Gala since 2016. That's almost a decade. And for someone of her stature, arguably one of the biggest cultural icons on the planet, to step away from the Met Gala for that long was a deliberate choice. She's been focused on her music, her tours, her family, and her business ventures. The Met Gala just wasn't a priority. But now, she's not just attending, she's co-chairing. That means she's one of the faces of the entire event. She's involved in the planning, the theme, the execution. This isn't a casual appearance. This is a statement. And fans online are already speculating that this return signals the beginning of Act 3 in her career. For context, Beyoncé's recent projects have been framed as acts in a larger artistic vision. So if the Met Gala appearance is the kickoff to Act 3, we could be looking at a new album, a new tour, and a whole new era of Beyoncé. Let that sink in. A new Beyoncé era. The industry hasn't seen one in a minute, and when she does come back, it's always a reset. She doesn't just release music, she reshapes the conversation, she sets the trends, she dominates the culture. And here's the thing. The Met Gala is one of the most watched, most talked about events in fashion and entertainment. It's not just about the red carpet, it's about the moments, the looks, the statements. And if Beyoncé is co-chairing, you know she's going to deliver something that breaks the internet. But beyond the fashion and the spectacle, this announcement has massive implications for the music industry. Because if Beyoncé is gearing up for a new album cycle, that means everyone else is about to get overshadowed. Think about it. When Beyoncé drops, the entire industry pauses. Other artists delay their releases, award shows restructure their categories, playlists get rearranged. She doesn't just compete with other artists, she eclipses them. And that's why people are saying her Met Gala return is more than just a fashion moment. It's a cultural reset. It's her way of saying, I'm back and you better be ready. Now, the Met Gala has other co-chairs too, but let's be real, when Beyoncé's name is on the list, everybody else becomes a footnote. That's not shade, that's just facts. She has that level of influence and pull. So yeah, the Beyoncé announcement is huge. It's a signal that she's ready to re-enter the public sphere in a major way, and when she does, the entire industry is going to feel it. All right, so we've talked about Cardi's pregnancy speculation, Offset's alleged revenge plot, Doja's chart struggles, Nicki's questionable rollout, Kandi's financial war, and Beyoncé's power move. Now let's get into some of the smaller stories that are still making waves, starting with Alandrea's workout video and why fans think she might be pregnant. All right, so let's talk about Alandrea for a second, because this story is wild and how fast it escalated. So apparently, Alandrea posted on Snapchat that she threw up during a workout. Just a normal post, right? Like, yo, I pushed myself too hard at the gym, felt sick, whatever. But the second that post went live, fans started speculating that she's pregnant. Like, y'all, not every time a woman throws up means she's pregnant. Sometimes people just overexert themselves during exercise. Sometimes they eat something that doesn't sit right. Sometimes they're dehydrated. There are a million reasons someone might vomit during a workout that have nothing to do with pregnancy. But the narrator from the source material is pushing back hard on this pregnancy theory. The argument is that Alandrea might not be conditioned for intense exercise, and that's why she got sick, which is actually a fair point. If someone's not used to high-intensity workouts and they jump into one without proper preparation, nausea and vomiting are pretty common side effects. But here's the thing. Once pregnancy rumors start, they take on a life of their own. It doesn't matter if there's no actual evidence. It doesn't matter if the person hasn't confirmed anything. The internet decides what the narrative is, and it spreads like wildfire. And that's exactly what's happening with Alandrea. Fans are convinced she's pregnant, even though the most logical explanation is that she just pushed herself too hard at the gym. But logic doesn't always win on the internet. All right, now let's pivot to GloRilla, because this is where things get rough. So GloRilla just dropped a new song called Special, and the numbers are not good. We're talking 46,000 streams in 4 days. For an artist who had major momentum just last year, those are concerning numbers. Let's keep it real. GloRilla was one of the breakout stars of 2024. She had hits, she had buzz, she was everywhere. People were calling her the next big thing in rap. But in 2025, the momentum has noticeably slowed down, and Special underperforming this badly is a big red flag. And according to the narrator, the problem is oversaturation. The argument is that GloRilla is releasing too much music too quickly, and fans are getting fatigued. Instead of building anticipation and letting songs breathe, she's flooding the market, and it's backfiring. Here's the thing about music releases in today's industry. There's a delicate balance between staying relevant and overexposing yourself. If you release too infrequently, people forget about you. But if you release too often, your music starts to feel disposable. Fans don't have time to connect with one song before the next one drops. And that might be what's happening with GloRilla. She's putting out music at a pace that doesn't allow each release to build its own identity and momentum. So instead of having multiple hits, she's ending up with a bunch of songs that underperform. The narrator is basically saying, slow down, take your time, focus on quality over quantity. And honestly, that's probably the best advice for her career right now. Because if the decline continues, we could be looking at a situation where she goes from breakout star to industry afterthought in less than 2 years. Which would be a shame, because GloRilla has talent. But talent alone doesn't guarantee success. You need strategy, timing, and smart decision-making. And right now, the strategy seems off. All right, so we've covered Alandrea's workout drama, GloRilla's concerning numbers, and a whole lot of other celebrity chaos. Now let's tie all of this together and talk about what it means for the industry moving forward. All right, so let's zoom out for a second and talk about what all of these stories mean when you put them together. Because this isn't just random celebrity drama. There are patterns here, there are themes, and there are lessons about fame, competition, and survival in the entertainment industry. First, let's talk about relationships and how they're weaponized in the public eye. The Cardi B and Offset situation is a perfect example. What should be a private divorce has become a public spectacle, with alleged revenge plots, safety concerns, and pregnancy speculation. And the reason it's so public is because both parties are celebrities. Their lives are content. Their pain is entertainment. And that's the dark side of fame that people don't always talk about. When you're a celebrity, you don't get to process your emotions privately. Every breakup, every fight, every move you make is analyzed, dissected, and turned into a narrative by millions of strangers online. And in cases like Cardi and Offset, where there are allegations of fear and potential danger, that public scrutiny can make an already volatile situation even worse. Now, let's talk about competition, because that theme is running through multiple stories here. Nicki allegedly announcing an album to compete with Cardi, Doja relying on features to stay relevant, GloRilla oversaturating the market to keep up with other artists. The pressure to stay on top in the music industry is relentless. And here's the thing. That pressure can lead to bad decision-making. It can make artists rush projects, announce things prematurely, or flood the market with content that isn't fully developed. And ultimately, that hurts their careers more than it helps. The smartest artists are the ones who resist that pressure. Beyoncé is a perfect example. She takes her time. She builds anticipation. She doesn't release music just to stay in the conversation. She releases music when she's ready to make a statement. And that's why every Beyoncé album is an event. Now, let's talk about money, because the Kandi and Todd situation highlights how messy divorces can get when significant wealth is involved. Prenup challenges, strategic business deals, alleged hiding of assets. It's all part of the game when you're trying to protect what you've built. And here's the lesson. No matter how much you love someone, you need to protect yourself financially. Prenups aren't romantic, but they're necessary. And when things fall apart, having clear legal agreements in place can save you from years of courtroom battles. Now, let's talk about oversaturation, which is affecting both GloRilla and potentially Doja Cat. In today's streaming era, artists feel like they need to constantly release music to stay relevant. But the data shows that quality beats quantity every time. Look at artists like SZA, who took years between albums, and when she finally dropped, it was a massive success. Or Frank Ocean, who disappears for long stretches and then reemerges with projects that dominate the culture. These artists understand that scarcity creates value. But when you're dropping songs every few weeks, your audience doesn't have time to appreciate each release. It all starts to blend together, and eventually people tune out because they're fatigued. And finally, let's talk about how the internet shapes these narratives. Fan speculation about pregnancies, astrology chart readings, viral rumors about fights that never happened, all of this is driven by online communities that have more power than ever before. The internet doesn't just report celebrity stories anymore, it creates them. Fans become detectives. They analyze every post, every lyric, every public appearance. And once a narrative takes hold online, it becomes truth, even if there's no actual evidence to back it up. And that's both fascinating and dangerous, because it means celebrities are constantly navigating narratives they didn't create and can't fully control. And for fans, it means the line between speculation and reality is increasingly blurred. So, yeah, when you look at all these stories together, you see a picture of an industry that's more competitive, more public, and more unpredictable than ever before. And the celebrities who survive are the ones who can navigate the chaos while protecting their mental health, their finances, and their creative vision. All right, y'all, we've covered a lot in this video. I'm talking Cardi B's potential pregnancy, Offset's alleged revenge plot, Doja Cat's chart struggles, Nicki's questionable album rollout, Kandi's financial warfare, Beyoncé's major Met Gala return, GloRilla's career concerns, and so much more. But here's the thing. This story is still unfolding. More details are dropping every single day. More tea is being spilled, more clues are surfacing. And you know I'm going to be covering every single twist and turn as it happens. So if you want to stay updated on all of this drama, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Cardi B is actually gonna get pregnant in 2026 or 2027? Or is this just internet speculation that's gonna fade away? Do you believe Offset is really stalling the divorce out of anger and hurt? Or do you think there's more to the story that we're not seeing? What about Nicki's album? Do you think she's actually dropping in March? Or was this announcement made in the heat of the moment? And Beyoncé's Met Gala return. Are you hyped? Do you think this means Act 3 is finally coming? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments because I read every single one and I love seeing what y'all think about these stories. And seriously, if you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you so much. Hit that like button to let me know you're rocking with me, share this video with your friends who love celebrity drama, and again, subscribe if you haven't already because we're covering every update as it drops. This is the type of drama that doesn't slow down. New information is coming out daily. Fans are digging deeper, celebrities are making moves, and I'm gonna be here breaking it all down for you. But before I go, I want to leave you with this. As wild as all this celebrity drama is, remember that these are real people going through real situations. Divorces, breakups, career struggles, financial battles, it's all happening behind the headlines. So while we're here discussing and analyzing, let's also keep some perspective and empathy. That said, the tea is hot and we're gonna keep sipping. I appreciate you for watching, fam. Stay safe out there, stay smart with your own relationships and finances, and remember, the internet never forgets, so always think twice before you post. Until next time, peace!